What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Chito Vera scared to fight Islam Makhachev. This weekend, Chito Vera will be competing against Sugar Sean O'Malley in a highly anticipated rematch several years in the making. Ahead of the fight, there's been quite a bit of talk surrounding the possibility of a fight between Sean O'Malley and Ilia Topuria should the champ emerge victorious. The way Chito Vera sees things, in an ideal world, he would be competing at 155 pounds, given his walk-around weight. However, from the sounds of things, fighters like Islam Makhachev are the reason he has no intentions of doing so. He spoke on Steve-O's Wild Ride.
My dream weight will be fight at 155. Not cutting weight, full ribeye, a pound of liver, half avocado with honey, and I would jump to the cage. 155. But the Chandler would probably break my neck. Islam would probably break my legs. I mean, they're just too big because those guys are cutting for 200 pounds.
As we saw after UFC 298, a list was published indicating how much weight fighters gained back after weigh-ins, thanks to the California State Athletic Commission's 15% rehydration threshold. Should a similar list wind up being published for UFC 299, it'll be interesting to see what both Vera and O'Malley weigh after rehydrating. Next up, let's take a look at Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Denis in Jeopardy! In the co-main event of UFC 299, former interim champion Dustin Poirier will square off with streaking contender Benoit Denis in a bout that could very well be Poirier's last. While his loss to Justin Gaethje is the only non-title fight loss Poirier has sustained since 2016, at 35 years of age, the end could be in sight. With the fight between Poirier and Denis rapidly approaching, there's been concern that the bout could be called off due to what appears to be a staph infection on the forehead of Benoit Denis. Fans noticed the questionable mark on the streaking contender's forehead, with Renato Moicano even taking note of the situation, writing in part, "BSD appears with something that looks like a staph infection. Could that change the fight? Is he taking antibiotics? Will this change the outcome of the fight?" Although it hasn't been confirmed, it remains just a theory. If Denis is in fact dealing with a staph infection, the antibiotics he would have likely been taking to combat it could play a major factor in his endurance levels. On Thursday, Denis notably wore a hat to the Fight Week press conference, making it so that fans could not get a good look at the suspected infection. This only added fuel to the fire, leading many to wonder how things will play out leading up to and during the fight with the Diamond. UFC 299 is here, and today's video is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're wondering what DraftKings offers, check out their parlays, same game parlays, and SGPXs, where you can combine multiple bets together from the same fight or game for a shot at even bigger payouts. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code MMAZone. The crown is yours. Next up, let's take a look at Michael Chandler reacts to Conor McGregor video. Despite Dana White indicating his return was being pushed back to the fall, Conor McGregor has made it clear that he wants to fight Michael Chandler in June. In a video from Adam Glynn, McGregor indicated that he plans to fight Chandler on June 29th, just like he previously announced.
When do we see the Michael Chandler fight? Was that
June 29th.
Is it official?
Yeah, call that!
Michael Chandler was quick to react on social media the following morning, writing, "This is going to be a special camp for me. I've never been away from competition this long in the last 22 years of hand-to-hand combat. Laying a foundation now. I break him within 2 rounds, 114 days. Chandler also shared a video of himself training, writing, 114 days, laying a foundation. Walk on. See you at the top. Chandler also notably retweeted a photo showing McGregor running from him inside the octagon. However, as many, including Ariel Helwani, have theorized, it may be the UFC keeping McGregor on the shelf in order to ensure that he stays under contract, given that he only has 2 fights remaining and the promotion is entering into negotiations for their next broadcast deal. Next, let's take a look at Francis Ngannou reveals final UFC fight payout. Francis Ngannou's decision to part ways with the UFC was met with quite a bit of skepticism at the time. While there were talks of the Predator boxing Tyson Fury, when Ngannou and the UFC parted ways, the bout was far from a done deal. Despite that, Ngannou bet on himself, parting ways with the promotion in a stunning move that left many members of the MMA community wondering if he had fumbled the bag, given that reports indicated the contract he left on the table with the UFC was one of the largest in UFC history. Of course, since then, the Predator secured himself a massive payday by boxing Fury in Saudi Arabia. and earned the respect of combat sports fans around the world with his impressive performance against the Gypsy King. During a recent interview on Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo's Pound for Pound podcast, Ngannou revealed how much he made for his final UFC fight, while also indicating that at one time he owed Kamaru Usman $200,000.
Even my last fight in the UFC, I took $600,000 for my last fight in the UFC, as opposed to $5 million that they were offering, and for the same fight, right? I'm like, bro, and I was broke. Like at the time, I owe Usman right here. I owe him $200,000. I had a goal. I had my own way. I want something, and then it couldn't be delivered, and I couldn't sell out what I wanted just because of more money. Obviously, I needed that money. Obviously, I never had that amount of money.
Given that he made millions for his fight with Fury, it's safe to say Ngannou didn't fumble the bag. You already know we're teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where you'll find new opportunities to build exciting parlays and get in on the action with free-to-play pools. Download the DraftKings app now with promo code MMAZone, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Next up, let's take a look at Kevin Holland sends a warning to Michael Page. In addition to the bantamweight title fight and the co-main event bout between Dustin Poirier and Benoit Denis, the UFC 299 main card will notably see Kevin Holland welcome Michael Venom Page to the octagon. The bout is expected to produce fireworks, with two of the most entertaining strikers on the roster set to compete in a bout with all the makings of a fight of the night contender. According to Kevin Holland, despite he and MVP showing one another respect during fight week, he considers his opponent to be a Bellator-level fighter. During the interview with ESPN leading up to the bout, Holland issued a warning to Page.
It's always exciting, you know what I mean? It's like we're gonna get out there and see who hits each other first, hits each other the hardest, it's like that's always fun. But it's like he's not a UFC guy, he's a Bellator guy. If I wanted to fight Bellator guys, I would have went to Bellator. I'm in the UFC, so sounds good. Welcoming party. Hopefully after I smash him, he's not even here anymore and he goes off to a different league and does his thing, but
as Holland also notably indicated, despite his desire to remain active, the UFC specifically wanted him and Page to square off, causing him to be more inactive than he would like. After UFC 299, however, Holland made it clear he wants to get back to fighting more frequently. Next, let's take a look at MMA Community FURIOUS with Fight. The PFL Paris main event ended in surprising fashion, with referee Marc Goddard calling the fight off due to what initially appeared to be an injury to Cedric Doumbé's foot. Longtime referee Big John McCarthy explained the stoppage in a video shared to PFL's social media accounts.
And Cedric again looks at Marc Goddard and points to his foot, illustrating that he has an injury to his foot. Once that's done, Marc Goddard has got to call the fight. The fight is over. It is a technical knockout victory for Baki based upon what we call a self-inflicted injury.
As it turns out, however, the situation seemed to be caused not by an injury during the fight, but because of a splinter that ended up in Doumbé's foot. Fans were not happy with the result, and the first loss of Doumbé's career coming by way of a splinter. As one fan wrote, self-inflicted would mean he got the injury from fighting. How is it his fault that there's a random piece of glass in the cage? At the same time, others took aim at Marc Goddard, with one writing, Marc Goddard should be banned from MMA. Another added, this organization is a joke. One fan suggested the ending warranted a no contest result, writing, should be changed to a no contest. Something from the cage or mat got stuck in his toe. Really weird, and haven't seen anything like it before. Another member of the MMA community noted Marc Goddard's involvement, writing, Marc went from being the best ref to the most controversial ref, LMFAO. I still love him as a person, but man, he's been off the last year. One fan agreed, adding, please ban Marc Goddard from MMA. He continuously makes early stoppage and makes the fight about himself. As one fan surmised, the situation turned them off from the PFL as an organization, writing, this ruined PFL for me. We'll never watch again. This has to be the dumbest stoppage I've ever seen. Both fighters were looking for time, LOL. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. Get in on the action now by downloading the app and sign up using our promo code MMAZone. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at UFC Fight Updates. Heading into UFC 299, 2 new fights have been added to upcoming cards. With that in mind, let's take a look at today's UFC Fight Updates, starting with a lightweight bout between Tom Nolan and Victor Martinez added to the UFC Vegas 92 card on May 18th. According to Marcel Dorff, who broke the news, the bout is 100% signed and confirmed. However, there is a chance that the UFC winds up hosting the Fight Night event elsewhere. The bout will see both Nolan and Martinez look to get their first UFC wins, with Nolan dropping his UFC debut back to Nicholas Motta back in January, and Martinez fresh off a loss to Jordan Levitt back in February of 2023. In addition, reports have indicated that a bout between Mickey Gall and Basil Hafez has been added to the UFC 302 card on June 1st. The bout will see Gall look to snap a 2-fight skid that most recently saw him finished by Mike Mallet back in April 2022, while on the flip side, Hafez will look to bounce back from a loss to Jack Della Maddalena back in July. Dana White reveals new rule change at the UFC 299 weigh-ins. Previously, fighters were allowed to weigh in officially between the hours of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., giving them an extra hour to cut weight if they haven't made weight yet. Now, with this new rule change, fighters will have to weigh in mandatory between 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and if they miss weight initially, they'll have until 11 a.m. to make weight before being heavily fined or getting pulled out of their fight. According to Mark Raimondi, the UFC is thinking of implementing this in all future weigh-ins. What do you think of this new rule? Let us know in the comments below. Top comments: Dana, we don't do gimmick fights. Dana, put CM Punk on main card. Dana, I tried to make Zuckerberg vs. Musk in UFC. I hope Primetime Mike comes back just one more time for one more fight. I'll repeatedly say, as an old school fan, Dana is a slimeball. I view fighters the same I view Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, or Ric Flair. They deserve to pick their own sponsors. I want to see my favorite fighters in commercials. Think it would be cool to see Volk fighting Izzy over a Papa John pizza. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.